Hello, welcome to this Windchill ProjectLink presentation, focusing on supplier collaboration. My name is James Brooks, I work for Root Solutions, and I'll be taking you through this presentation today. Here's a brief agenda of how I'm going to do that. I'm going to take you through a few of the key concepts in Windchill ProjectLink with an overview on each of those key processes. We're then going to go through the supplier collaboration aspect of ProjectLink, which is what we'll be focusing on during this presentation. I'll do that in the form of a storyboard, which will be punctuated by small demonstrations. I'll then summarize and close. Windchill ProjectLink is a comprehensive project management and execution tool with real-time information and activity management. It enables secure, effective collaboration with suppliers or extended product development teams regardless of their location. Windchill ProjectLink supports many of the key processes companies encounter when they're managing and executing projects. These are areas such as design outsourcing, manufacturing outsourcing, change management, and project management. Let's drill into a few of these key processes. Windchill ProjectLink supports robust project planning with critical capabilities designed specifically for project managers. So this will include items such as a visual timeline, an intelligent Gantt chart for the project plan, which includes relationships and critical path. It also tightly integrates with Microsoft Project, with import and export capabilities which support things such as duration, deadlines, date constraints, and full precedence relationships. It also comes with an intuitive wizard for authoring a project plan, and dashboards for monitoring, so it makes it very easy for you to get a high-level overview of the project itself and where it is. Critically, execution of these tasks within the plan will automatically move forward when they're complete, which removes the manual nature of these activities, whilst maintaining an alignment to the project plan itself and your business processes. One of the major enhancements for this latest release of Windchill ProjectLink is support for change management. This means that these external project team members can now submit things like problem reports and actively take part in the change process. This is something that they haven't had capability to do before, and what it means is that any interaction that they have during the design change is now tracked and associated to them as an individual. Critically, all this interaction will be driven by change workflows and business processes defined by your company. To support the highly interactive and collaborative nature of working with external suppliers, design teams or manufacturers, Windchill ProjectLink has fantastic capabilities for sharing this data, communicating in a secure and simple way. During this presentation, we're going to focus on the design outsourcing or external collaboration aspect of ProjectLink. Now, I know that in this presentation we're talking about Windchill ProjectLink, but Windchill ProjectLink is an application that runs off Windchill technology, as does PDM-Link. Now, PDM-Link provides the platform and the capability to manage all of your design data. And ProjectLink then piggybacks on this and builds on that functionality and extends it to cope with the demands and the challenges collaborating with external sources like suppliers, design consultants, and so on brings. So when you're working with PDM-Link, you will have in-house designers which have the capability to access almost all of the design collateral and IP that gets created around a product, which is absolutely fine as they are the in-house designers. They will need to have access to this information, the CAD data, the documents, the illustrations, the images that go around this product as they are in-house designers. Now, when you're working with an external supplier or design consultant, you may want them just to focus on a small aspect or a small portion of that design. What ProjectLink provides you with is a secure location away from your live PDM-Link data. This secure location links back to the original source information, CAD data, documents, whatever it happens to be. So it's up to date and it is associative. But it has a level of separation there, which means that the work that they do on this data that you're sharing with them has a level of separation, which means they can work in a normal fashion, they can check it in, they can check it out. But what they can't do is affect that original data that's stored inside PDM-Link until you are happy to update it. So this brings us on to some of the integral operations that you will need to be aware of when you are sharing your information to ProjectLink. So sharing simply gives read access to these objects. It means that people can view them inside the visualization tools inside Creo View. They can interrogate them and have a good look around them, but what they can't do is modify them. If you check out to your project location, you will be giving them modification access to these objects. They can then start working on these products as if they were an in-house member of the design team. They can check it out, they can modify, they can check it back in again. But all with that level of separation. Those modifications will only exist in the project location. When you are happy to accept the modifications and the new design that they've created for you, you can send it back to PDM, in which time it will synchronize with your PDM-Link database and update your designs. Now obviously that's quite a simplistic view, but that gives you hopefully a broad overview of how we start to use this secure location to collaborate with these external parties. When it comes to supplier collaboration, I've taken this storyboard approach to presenting it to you. What I've done is I've broken it down into 6 simple steps that we're then going to go through in quite some detail. This is just an overview of where we're going to be going during the presentation. So the first step is fairly obvious. It's to create the actual project. When we create this project, we can start to build in things which add structure and some organization to the project itself. So we can build in things like folders where the appropriate data can be stored, where it's intuitive for the people that we're dealing with to navigate and find the data that they're after. Now, once we've created a project and we've built our structure, we can save that off as a template and reuse it the next time we create a new project. And this obviously creates consistency, and it means that people have a rough idea of where they need to go to find the data that you're sharing with them. The second step is to add the data to the project itself. So by using the intuitive tools that we have inside Windchill PDM-Link, you can use your right-hand mouse button or the actions pull down. You can share your information to a project, and you can decide how you want to share that data as well. So we've spoken about whether it's going to be read-only or whether they're going to have modification capabilities in there as well. It's at this stage you would define that information. The third step is pretty important, obviously. It is inviting the members, inviting the people that you're going to be collaborating with to the project. So to do this, you can select it from an existing list of people that you've already worked with. You may have some critical information about them in there, things like their email address, their phone number, and some information about their organization. Or it might be somebody you've never worked with before, in which case you can just supply an email address, and what the system will do is send them an invitation via email. So in their Microsoft inbox or wherever they are, they will have an invitation which looks a little bit like this, telling them who has invited them, to what project they've been invited, with hot links to the actual location themselves. They won't need to type in any email addresses. They simply click on the link and they start to fill in the information that they need to fill in, name, password, and so on. For step 4, I've changed the color slightly, and that's purely to indicate that this is coming from the supplier's point of view. So once they receive that email from the invitation, they obviously click on it, and that will take them into their secure location. Now, in terms of the interface, it looks exactly the same as PDM-Link, and that's been done on purpose. PDM-Link has been designed to be a very intuitive and user-friendly environment to work in, so we keep that and we maintain that consistency. They can use things like Creo View Express or Creo View itself to interrogate the data, to visualize it before they open it up so they can see what they're working with. And then depending on the access level that you've given them, they can start to work on the data. They may want to use Creo and start making modifications, or they just may want to interrogate the data, the drawings, whatever it is that you've shared with them. Once they've modified their data, they can check it in and check it out in the same way that you would if you were working with PDM-Link. As I've mentioned before, the iterations that they create will only be stored in the project environment. But once they've uploaded that new design data, by the use of things like subscriptions, the project manager can be kept informed at every single design stage, every single iteration and check-in or modification to the data. You can be kept up to speed. You will be given an email notifying you that something is different. And this could be an email when there's something like a a markup on the visualization file, or it could be something like an actual design change and a check-in. Now, once this information has been uploaded, the project manager will then review those completed changes. They can dip into the project itself, that secure location, investigate what's been uploaded. Now, it might just be a change to the data, it might be other documentation. Those folders that you create inside that project are locations that can be added to by an external source. So they can add things in there like, I don't know, concept designs, Word documents, Excel spreadsheets, whatever it is that they need to accompany their design, they can also upload into this ProjectLink location, at which point the project manager can decide whether he wants to integrate those and bring those in to the live PDM link data. If he does, you can send it back to PDM. It will then synchronize with the information that's stored in there and make that information available to everybody inside the company. So that's just a broad overview of supplier collaboration. What we're going to do now is dive into each one of these steps individually. And we're going to accompany each step with a brief demonstration. So for this first step, we are preparing to share our data. We're creating our project. So this project is the safe location that we're using to manage the design collaboration that we're about to do. This will usually be done by somebody who is the role of a design engineer or the project manager themselves. And when we do this, we're going to actually use the templates. So we may have created a project before. We may have liked the way that we structured that safe location with the folders that we've created, and we're going to reuse that with this template. Templates can also incorporate things such as standard documentation that you want to live inside some of those folders within that structure. So those documents could be things like standard documentation, best practices, non-disclosure agreements, or instructions for people to follow. The output of this is that we will obviously have a space which will be the project collaboration space we're going to work with, and we're going to have that structure in place. Let's see how that looks. We'll begin the demonstration entering Windchill in the normal way, which is to use a web browser. And we're going to connect up to the Windchill server. And when I do so, I'm going to connect as Mike Jones, who is a design engineer and project manager for this particular project. It's probably important to set the scene here. What we have is a design which is an Aston Martin DBR9 Scalextric model, where all of the internals are currently built, but we're using an external design agency to create the top mold, the actual shape of the Aston Martin. So you can see we're in Windchill PDM Link at the moment. We have a list of products, but we also have a tab which is dedicated to projects. And we have an icon in there where we can start to create a brand new project. So we'll type in the name of this project, which will be Supplier Collaboration DBR9, and that'll be the name that everybody uses as this secure location. If I click on the templates folder, this is where we list our current set of templates, and you can see I have one in there which is called Design, which has predefined folders and a predefined structure for this secure environment. You can enter in things such as descriptions and also an invitation message, and this invitation message is the one which will appear on the email that gets sent to anybody that you invite to this project. Now what we'll find underneath here is a number of other options that we can set, such as site or category or so on. Now these can be completely customized to whatever your company requires from the metadata that will be stored alongside this project. And at the bottom of the screen there we can also flavor the way that this project behaves itself in terms of the way that it processes the activities that we're going to perform in there. Once that project is created, we have a heading screen here which gives us critical information about the project itself. And when we go into the Browse tab, we can see that our new project is created with a lot of control over there as well, so we can enter things like the folders or the team that we're working with. Now looking at the folders, obviously we've used a template here. We can see that there is a great deal of information at our fingertips, and maybe you want to customize this. Just because you've used a template doesn't mean that you have to stick to it rigidly. There's a number of folders here that I don't actually need, so I'm going to remove those. And I also have the capability to create brand new folders. So you can use your templates as a basic structure for people to kind of get a head start on creating the secure environment and the structure for it. But we can then also build on that, or we can take things away. I could add extra documentation to some of these folders as a start point for whoever it is that we're collaborating with. Now if we take a look in the design location here, we can see we've got no data at all, and that leads us on to the next step in this process. Step 2 is where we actually add the data to the project. So we will begin this again as the role of Mike Jones, design engineer or project manager. And the main objectives here, first of all, are to find the data, obviously. And we can do this either by searching or by browsing our product folders. Once we've found that object, we then need to choose to share it to the project. And this can be done via the right-hand mouse button or the actions pull down as shown in the image to the side there. When we add the data to the project, we have the opportunity to choose our collaboration method. So if we choose to share it to that project, it means that people can still use visualization to view it, maybe mark it up, and just interrogate the data, or we can choose to check it out, which means that we're giving them the capability to make modifications via Creo. The other thing with this adding to the project is that we can choose the folder in which it's going to live within that project space, which is obviously quite nice. And then the final step here is that we have this option of subscribing. Now, when you subscribe to an object, it means that you are kept informed as to any changes with that data, or it could be a folder. If anything gets put into a folder, you'll be informed via email. In this case, we're perhaps going to subscribe to the documents themselves or the CAD data itself, which means that if somebody checks it in, they make a modification, Mike Jones will then be emailed and informed as to who's made that change and the fact that the change has actually happened. So let's see how that looks. For this next step, we're going to rejoin where we left off, which is in the projects folders environment. And you can see that we don't have any data in this project folder. So let's do something about that. Within PDMLink, we have the Aston Martin DBR9 product data. We can look in the CAD data folder inside there to find the data that we need. But if you don't know where the data is housed, you could always use a very simple search, or you could use this thumbnail navigator whereby you can find a component that you know is contained within that top level assembly and use the where used searches at the side to find the GA that it's a part of. Similarly, you could drill into the components that it uses as well on the side there. So once I found this visualization, you can see this is a very loose kind of thumbnail visualization that we were looking at there. Instead of that, I'm going to just do a quick search in table and go to the product details page for the top level assembly and get a more detailed view of the data that I wish to share to the project. By clicking on this thumbnail image, it will actually open up the assembly in Creo view. Now, bearing in mind I am in a web browser at the moment, this gives me great capability if I'm away from my Creo parametric seat to actually view the data that I'm hoping to work with, but also do more with it. Perhaps I want to do a section view and have a look at the way that data is put together, or in this instance, I'm going to use markup. So with this markup, I'm going to give some very simple instructions to the people that I'm going to be collaborating with on what I expect from the design. You could also measure in here as well, and you can provide as many different annotations as you need to demonstrate exactly what it is that you want to do, or any ideas or concerns that you have about the design. Now, once I've created this annotation, it's a very simple task to go to File, Save Annotation Set, and record this with the visualization file itself. What this means is that anybody who's got access to this information, whether it's through the ProjectLink side of things or the PDMLink side of things, they can view the annotation that I describe. I can enter in things like my phone number, my email, and some comments in there, which they'll be able to pick up on. And you can see that arrive at the side there. Excellent. So let's close this down and let's return to PDMLink and let's add this to the project. We can do that by using the actions pull down at the top here and going to add to, and we can just select add to project. We then need to select the project that we're actually adding it to. So we can do a very simple search. We can list all of the projects that we have and select it, or we could be a bit more precise. Once we've selected that top level assembly, you'll see that it picks all of the dependents and then gives us options for picking things up like the 2D drawing that's associated to it, as well as defining its location. So that's what I've done here. You can see I've put it into the designs folder inside my project. Once that's been created, it will tell me and give me feedback, let me know that that information has been shared to a project. So let's take a look at that. You can see at the top here, any information that is shared with the project will get a little glyph at the side of its project name, and that lets everybody know in PDMLink that this particular piece of data has been shared to a project. Looking inside the project folder, you can see that it's now populated with all of that information that I've just selected, and that little glyph is also present, letting people know that it is shared to a project. If you remember from the slides, when you share something to a project, it means that it's in a read-only state. Now this top-level assembly, I obviously need to give people more capability. I need them to be able to edit that assembly without actually editing the data or the sub-level parts. So I'm going to select just that top-level assembly, and either by using the actions pull down and looking at the list of things that I can possibly do to it, I could say that I would like to check it out to the project. Similarly, a right-hand mouse button click will do exactly the same thing. So now when we look at this list of data, we can see that we have checked this item out to a project, whereas all the rest of the data remains read-only. An important aspect of being a project manager or a design engineer and collaborating with other people is knowing when things are different. Using the right-hand mouse button, I can opt to subscribe to this data and then choose which things I'd like to be notified about every time they change. And that notification will come in the form of an email sent directly to me or whoever else I need to be involved in the process. So now that I've shared my data to the project, that leads us on to the next step, step 3. Moving on to the third step, this is quite an important one. This is where we invite the members to the project itself. When we invite these members, we can choose from a list of known or existing members, maybe people that we've worked with before within projects, or it may be people that were inside ProjectLink. And these people will be known, you'll have a profile based on them. But we can also work on new members. We can invite people that we've never worked with before, and we do that by entering in their email address. The email address is quite important because that's how we invite people to the project. They will be sent an email directly, and that email will contain critical information about obviously who you are, why you've invited them, the invite itself that you typed out when you created the project. But critically, it will have a URL which will directly link you to Windchill. So there's no need to type in URLs or go to specific locations. All you do is select the Join Project hotlink, and that will take you directly to Windchill, where it will ask you to authenticate into the system. Now when you choose your members, you can choose these members and assign a certain role to them, and this role would dictate what they can do inside the system. So you can choose somebody like a designer or a consultant or a guest, and based on this role they will have certain capabilities inside that system. You can change people's capabilities at any time, you can add members at any time, and you can also remove members from the project whenever you see fit. So it is pretty easygoing. Let's see how this works. We rejoin the demonstration, still logged in as Mike Jones and looking at the project folders. Now we need to add new members to our team. So by going to the project tab, we can select the team option, where we can see all of the roles which we have assigned to this project, and those roles will dictate what people can do within the project once they're in. And we simply find the role that we wish to add a member to, select the icon, and it will give us the capability to either search for users or people within the system. It will also list a number of people that we've recently used, and one of these is Kaylee Fry, and this is the person that I'd like to do the design for me of the Aston Martin. Now because she's known, she's listed in the system and she has a user profile already there. But if you want to work with anybody who is not known within the system, you simply just add their email address, as I'm doing here, and add those to the list of people that you want to join, and you can choose the type of role that they're going to take once they're in. Now I'm going to remove them from this list because I just want to work with Kaylee Fry. When I say OK to this, an invitation will be sent immediately to her email address, which will house things like what the project's called, who I am and why I've invited them, as well as the actual invitation itself. And I can also see from this team list whether they've accepted that invitation yet or not. Now that moves us on to the next step in the process, which is step 4, where we put our supplier hat on. In this fourth step, I'm going to change the role. We invited Kaylee Fry to the project, so I'm going to assume the role of Kaylee Fry, who is our external design team or supplier. And the main objectives here are, first of all, to have a look at our inbox, have a look at our email, and see that we have been invited to a project. This email should contain all the relevant information that I require to join this project, which is hassle-free. And then once we're inside that project, once we're inside Windchill, we're going to have a browse around, have a look at the folder structures, see what data has been left in there for us to use, and use the visualization tools or Creo View to examine those parts, to have a good look around them, to interrogate them a little bit, and maybe have a look at some of the markup that might have been produced that will express ideas or concerns about what they want us to do. Then we'll subscribe to either the design folder or the data itself, so that we can be kept informed if the in-house design team make any changes to the data. So if there is a newer version available, we'll be informed, and we can make sure that we are always working off the most up-to-date information. Let's see how that looks. We rejoin the demonstration on Kaylee Fry's machine, and I'm going to check Kaylee Fry's email. What we can see in here is that obviously we've got a brand new entry in our inbox, and that'll be the email sent directly from Windchill inviting us to that project. And that email will contain information such as who invited us, which is Mike Jones, and to what project we've been invited to, as well as that customized invitation that we wrote out when we created the project. Everything listed there with the blue underscored writing is a hot link, including the join project command. And if I click on that, it will open up a web browser, at which point it will ask us to authenticate into Windchill, and it will take us directly to the project that we've been invited to. So we can see that the main details page is listed there with all the information about the project. And if I click on the Browse tab, I can see a list of all the areas of Windchill that I'm allowed access to. One of those is this brand new project which has been created. And if I check the folders on here, I should see that I have that predefined structure in place that was created by Mike Jones, and within the design folder itself we have all of the CAD data that we're interested in. We can see that most of that CAD data has been shared to the project, and that only one of these objects has actually been checked out to the project. By using the thumbnail navigator, I can get a thumbnail visualization on that data, and I can see it's the internals of that Aston Martin file. And using that thumbnail navigator, I can open it up directly in Creo View. Remember, we're still in a browser at this point. Within Creo View, I can create my own exploded views, I can interrogate the parts, I can measure them and section them and have a good look around the data that I'm about to work with before actually opening it up in Creo Parametric. This could be because I'm away from my desk or away from my design seat. Also, we have that annotation tab, so I can investigate any pre-saved annotations that have been put in place. We can see this one by Mike Jones at the moment. It's a pretty simple instruction, but one I intend to follow. And when I'm happy with that, I can just close down Creo View and go back to ProjectLink or Windchill. Once I'm in Windchill, it's important that I subscribe to this part as well. So again, it's a right-hand mouse button click to do so. I can choose the various options that I want to be informed about should the design change, and that will again be emailed to me. In this case, I'm actually not going to bother. So that finishes this particular part of the demonstration. Let's move on to step 5 and see what we're going to do with the data once we've actually joined the project. Step 5 is a continuation of where we were in step 4 really, only this time we're going to start creating some data. We're going to start modifying some of those files that we have the capability to modify. Now every time that we check out and we make a design change, we check back in again, it creates a new iteration. But crucially, that iteration is stored solely in the project space. It doesn't write any information back to the stuff that we have inside PDMLink, our live data. The project manager has control over that. So it's only really when the design is complete and when the project manager is happy with that design that they send it back to PDM, at which point it synchronizes with all the data and informs people that there's a new version available. At this stage, all we're doing is working with the design in a normal fashion, checking in, checking out, modifying, and working away. Now, because we are involved in this project, we have access to other folders, and we might want to supply some supporting documentation. We might want those concept illustrations going in there, we might want reports, Word documents, or what have you. And we have the capability to upload these to that project space, and then the project manager will have the capability to perhaps put that information back inside PDMLink as well. We can also open up that visualization file as you saw earlier, and we can add our own annotations to it to perhaps explain some of the ideas or the reasons why we've done certain things, or give instructions to other people as well. The outputs on here is that we're in a secure environment. We're doing all of this shielded away from working locally on machines or using emails or FTP or methods which are unsecure. We have full traceability because I have authenticated into Windchill. Everything that I do is tracked within the system, and because we have this subscription going on, everything that I do will notify relevant parties who are interested. So, the project manager, other design engineers, or anyone who has a stake in this data. Another thing to add to this, something that we've not really covered yet, is that the same data can be shared to multiple projects. So in this instance, we've only shared the data to one project and we've only got one external design team working on it. But inside ProjectLink, we do have the capability to take that data from PDMLink, share it to multiple projects, and perhaps invite different external design teams, maybe different design consultancies, to work on the same data and come up with different concepts. And obviously each project is kept away from each design consultancy, so they can come up with various designs based on the same data. And then obviously only one of those will ever get through to PDM-Link, so the project manager has the capability to view all these different designs, choose which one they like the best, and then synchronize that one back to PDM-Link. Although, as I mentioned before, in this demonstration we're only working with one project and one external design team. So let's now take a look at the demonstration where I'm still in the role of Kaylee Fry. I'm going to add my own design data to the assembly which has been shared to the project, and I'm just going to check that back into the system and create these different iterations that we've been speaking about. We rejoin the demonstration, still logged into Windchill as Kaylee Fry via the web browser, and we can walk our way around these different project folders as we see fit. Now, one of these project folders is called Concept Designs, and what I intend to do here is to upload a few documents which will support the design that I'm doing. When you upload a document, you can choose the type of document that you're uploading, and then you can browse to find it on your operating system. Now, in this case, I'm uploading a JPEG, which is an illustration of my intended design, but you can upload any electronic document type. So that could be a Word document, Excel spreadsheet, HTML report, whatever it happens to be to support that design. Now, any other member of this project will be able to see that information and interrogate it, either using Creo View or using a native tool. The project manager could then send this information back to PDM-Link because it's important to the design and they want to share that with the rest of the in-house design team and the rest of the community that are using Windchill PDM-Link. Now that we've uploaded this supporting piece of documentation, I think our work in the browser is done. I think it's time to start actually working within Creo Parametric on the design. So we'll leave this browser and fire up Creo Parametric. We're opening a session of Creo Parametric which is automatically linked to Windchill, and that means that every time I try and interact with the system to browse the database, it will ask me to authenticate in. So I'm going to log in as Kaylee Fry, and that will then set up what I'm allowed to do based on my role within this project. You can see I have an empty workspace, so I'm going to have to browse for my data. I'm going to pick on the projects folder and it will list the projects that I'm a member of. I'm going to go into the designs folder and just find that top level assembly that I intend to work on. Now at this stage this assembly is still read-only. I have multiple members of this project, but only one of them can have modification rights while it's within that project. So when I click to assemble a new assembly in here, it's going to tell me that I don't have those rights, but would I like them? So I say yes. I'm now going to browse for this brand new assembly that I've created, and I have done a bit of a Blue Peter here. I've actually completed the design, put it into an assembly, and I'm going to add the whole thing in. But you can do a more iterative approach whereby you create the design from scratch and check it in and check it out multiple times. I've done this just to save time. So we can now see our new design. It looks fantastic, and at this point I'd like to actually submit this back into the project, so I'm going to check it back into the system. We have a number of options when we check in. We have this automatic check-in, which is a one-click process to send it straight back into the system. But in this instance, I'm going to do a custom check-in because a lot of these components don't exist inside that project. So when I check this in, I'm going to ask it to create all the visualization files for all of the brand new components that I've created within this design. And it's just going to run through those for me now. And it's going to open up the inbuilt browser inside Creo to show me which components are going to be checked back into the system. Now what we can also do, because we have a number of objects here which are brand new, we can select which folder inside the project that they're going to be housed inside. Once I've done that, I simply click Finish, and I've now modified my design and I've checked it back into the system. Those modification rights are now given back to the project, and another member of this design team who is a member of this project could perhaps pick those up and run with my design. That's obviously not the case in this instance, as I'm the only person in this project. So we're now going to exit Creo Parametric and take a look at what we've done. I'm actually going to open up the browser again and log back in as Kaylee Fry, really just to summarize the new design changes that I've done and how that looks inside the project now for all the other design team members that we have, and then also to do things like add some markup perhaps to my design, because I believe I've actually finished the design itself. So in summary, if we go into the concepts folder, we've uploaded extra documentation that we think might be relevant to the new design itself. And if we look into the designs folder, we can see that we've got a number of brand new components which have been uploaded to this project environment. Remember, this hasn't been written back to PDMLink yet. These only exist in the project. If we look down at the top level assembly and go to its information page, there's a few things to notice on here. The first thing is obviously at the top here we have a brand new iteration, so it appends that 1-2 with a .2 as well, and that .2 is every time it's been checked in while it's been in the project. You can see the thumbnail visualization was that of the full-blown assembly, which is great, and if we click on that we open up into Creo View again, and within Creo View I'm actually just going to upload some annotation of my own. I know that Mike Jones is a member of this project and that he is the project manager, so I might just want to put in some information in here as to why I've done the things I've done, things to look out for, or ideas or concerns. Now, again, inside this environment, I might want to add a little bit of sexy stuff like sections and that kind of stuff to illustrate my points that I'm putting across a little bit better. But in this instance, I'm just going to drop in a little bit of markup on here so that Mike, when he picks this up, can see what it is that I've done. So just like before, we'll go to File and we'll save that annotation with our visualization file. Once that's complete, we'll exit, safe in the knowledge that via subscription, Mike should be picking up a lot of the information that we've done. So he'll be aware that there's been a design change. He'll probably be aware that there's been a markup put on the visualization file. And that leads us nicely into the final step of this process. Step 6 is the last step in this process, and it's where we review the completed design changes. So for this, we're going to revert to the role of Mike Jones, the project manager, and we're going to check our inbox and see that the subscription that we did earlier has notified us that there's been some changes to the data that we put inside the project. To review this, we could use Creo View or Creo Parametric and check out the changes which have taken place. Now, if the changes aren't to my satisfaction, then I don't have to do anything other than communicate back with our external design team, either by marking up or by emailing. But when it gets to a stage that data is ready to be sent back to PDMLink, we can send those finalized designs back to PDMLink with a simple right-hand mouse button click. So the outputs on this are that all of the design changes will have been tracked inside the project, and I will have been informed with this with email updates. We have the capability to review the items, and this has all been done in a secure location. Let's take a look at this in the demonstration. We rejoin, this time in the guise of Mike Jones, so we're on Mike Jones's machine. And we're just going to check his email. So you can see we've got a few extra emails in his inbox, which are the subscription notifications that something has changed. And if we pick on one of these and just actually take a look at the contents in there, it gives me some key information, such as who was the person that changed the design, but more importantly, it has hot links to the information in question. So if I click on that, it will open up a browser and allow me to log in. You can see it takes me immediately to the information in question, which in this case is that top level assembly. And I can see immediately from the visualization thumbnail that the design is different. We have a new top mold there. We can see that there are new iterations with the .2, which is appended to the version revision number. And we can check the critical information down the side there to see who it was modified by and when it was modified on. If we go to the Structure tab, we can investigate the new design and what's included in there. So if we click the Visualization tab, we can get a more real appreciation of just what has been added. And we can do that by selecting these parts within the parts list, and it will highlight them within the Visualization tab, which is a pretty neat thing to do. If we take it back to the Details tab on here, what we might want to do now is just investigate a bit deeper with that visualization file. So by clicking on the thumbnail, we can open it up in Creo View. Now remember, when Creo View is active and these visualization files are created, it's 100% mathematically accurate data or a representation of that CAD data. So I don't necessarily need to open it up in Creo Parametric to see what the design looks like. And within this environment, you can see we can go to that annotation tab. Because this is a new version, it's only Kaylee Fry's annotation that's included in there, because the one that I provided was on the previous incarnation. Using some of the functionality of Creo View, we can do things like section views or measure, and we can just have a good look around this data to see that things have been done correctly. And in this case, I believe they are. So if we exit Creo View now, I might want to actually accept this design and put it back into the PDM system, so overwrite the live data, and we do that by hitting the Actions menu and just saying Send Back to PDM. What it's doing here is listing all of that new data that we had, as well as the top level assembly, which is obviously going to change version. We can highlight everything and we can choose a location for it to live inside PDMLink. So this will be inside the product folders that we have. We can see that new location there, but we can also change the name of these objects as well so that it conforms to our naming conventions. Once we've done that, the information is now uploaded. If we click on Go to Latest, it will take us to the most up-to-date version of this data inside Windchill. We can see that the version revision has changed. We can see that the glyph is still there at the side to say that it is still shared to a project, but it's actually been shared, and that checkout to project has been removed because we've sent it back to PDM. Logged in as Mike Jones as I am, I'm going to go back to the PDMLink side of things, check the product folders, and just take a look around this data. So we're going to go into the product folder, the CAD data area of those product folders, and just investigate what's going on here. So you can see that we still have those glyphs to let us know which documents have still been shared to that project. And if I search for the top level assembly, you can see the glyph next to that is changed as well. It is now shared to project, so it's a read-only version, which is excellent. It's very good. You can see that the thumbnail visualization has updated to the latest version, which is fantastic. And as this is the PDMLink data, I know that everybody inside my organization now, the in-house design team if you like, now has access to this brand new information. Let's move on to a summary. Now, we've covered a lot of ground over the last few minutes, so let me just summarize this supplier collaboration aspect of Windchill ProjectLink. So within the first step, we were preparing to share our data, which basically meant that we created the project. When we created this project, we did so with the use of templates, which predefined things like folder structures, and could have also contained things like documentation that we wanted to share with the people that we're collaborating with. Within step 2, we added that data to the project, which was a very simple task. You simply find the data inside Windchill PDMLink, use the right-hand mouse button or the Actions pull down, and add it to the project. Now, when we add this data to the project, we can define how we want it to be displayed and how we want to use it within that collaboration, either by sharing it, which is read-only, or by checking it out to that project, which gives people modification rights. The third step was a very important one. This is where we invite our members to the project, and we do so by the use of roles, and those roles dictate what those members can actually do once they're joined to that project. When we invite a member to the project, they will receive an email, and that email will contain all the information that they require about the project itself and who's invited them, with an invitation, and also with a hot link that will immediately take them into Windchill and join them to the project. It will ask them for authentication so that the system knows who they are, and then they'll be in, which is fantastic. The fourth step was where we changed over to the supplier. So we put our supplier hat on, and that supplier would then take a look at their inbox, see that they've received the invitation via email, and join the project. And once they've joined the project, they can then browse that secure space and find the folders that we've created for them, but as well as that, they can find the data and any supporting information that they require. During this stage, then, they will work with Windchill in a normal way, so they will use the data, they'll check it out, they'll modify it, and check it back again. At every stage that they're doing that, those new iterations will only be housed in that project space. They will not be communicated back to the live data that's kept in PDMLink until such a time as the design is finished and the project manager is happy to upload that. And that takes us to our last step. Because of the subscription that you can place on here, either as a supplier or as a project manager, you can be kept informed at every stage of this process via email. So once the project manager has received an email that some designs have been changed, he can check those, he can review those completed changes, either with Creo View or with Creo Parametric. Any extra documentation that may have been uploaded to the folders inside the project can also be viewed. And at that stage, the project manager can then send this information back to PDM, at which point it will upload the data that's contained inside Windchill PDMLink. As such, the rest of the business will then be informed that there is a brand new version available to them. That summarizes the supplier collaboration aspect of Windchill ProjectLink. But Windchill ProjectLink as a whole is a comprehensive project management and execution tool with real-time information and activity management. It enables secure, effective collaboration with the extended product development team regardless of their location. Windchill ProjectLink supports many of the key processes companies encounter when they're managing and executing their projects. And these are areas such as design and manufacturing outsourcing, change management, and project management. I know we're focused on the design and manufacturing outsourcing in this particular presentation, but if you do have more questions around the project management or the change management aspect of Windchill ProjectLink, please do get in touch with us. Thank you for watching this demonstration today. I've been James Brooks, I work at Root Solutions, and if you have any queries or questions, please contact us on the telephone number shown or at www.root-solutions.co.uk. Thank you very much.